This video is about a few things, but before I get into it, I just want to go ahead and say that you should go support this over on LEGO Ideas. It is free to support at 232 supporters, and if we can get to 1,000, we get an expansion on days. If we can get to 10,000, this could potentially become a real LEGO set. 2 Technic-based animals with functions that are based on realistic, real-life animals. Go ahead and head on over there to support it. With that said, with that out of the way, I also wanted to touch on a couple of other things in this video. To start, I wanted to mention briefly, again, the parts variant form. What is the parts variant form? Well, it is essentially a visual catalog over on my Discord server, which is free to join, by the way, and it essentially behaves as a sort of, well, as I mentioned, visual catalog so that you can see, so that you can know and visually distinguish between all of the variations of parts that are available out there. This acts as a resource when you're maybe buying lots online or when you're buying from places like Bricklink, so that you know which different colors might be available that Bricklink may not distinguish between. What qualifies as a parts variant? Well, it's kind of up to you, because you can actually submit your parts to the variant form as well. Just kind of sift through it, make sure it hasn't been posted already. But essentially what a variant entails is a part that comes in a color that it's maybe not necessarily always supposed to. For example, here, it could be something like this. The Gresh blade with the dark green is what I would call the default color. However, with this translucent green or almost mata green here is clearly off. It's clearly not the color it's intended to be. And this actually happens a lot. It doesn't have to just be a color difference as well, but it can also be a variation in distribution of color. A piece like this, for example, from Holly Anika versus a piece like this, which has way more white involved with it as well. So little things like this, which means that it's very likely that the part you find may be something that is dual molded, marbled, etc., just because of the natural variation in parts when there's 2 or more colors involved and how those colors can interact. This is another version here with the trans dark version of the Takadox arm versus the trans light, and there's a trans medium in here as well, but I don't have 3 hands to hold things up. So it doesn't mean that that's the only case where these parts can show up. There are also, some examples on the forum, and I would highly suggest you go and check it out, if anything, just for curiosity's sake, right? But because there are parts on there that are single colors, but maybe have a little bit too much translucency, too much light comes through. Another one that I just found today, which might be a little bit hard to see on camera, is the brain bugs here, one being a much darker shade of blue. Now, this is not the Aquagon version. This is the Frost Beast version, both of these. The Aquagon one is obviously significantly darker than this, but I already have a forum post on there talking about the Vaki eye stalk and how that one can actually come in multiple different shades of blue as well. So not completely out of the realm of possibilities by any means, but again, I highly suggest you go and check it out. Go and add your touches to it, whether it is a part you own or a part you've seen before, so long as you have pictures, and there's a bit of a format on there that we encourage you to sort of follow, but again, it is sort of up to your discretion. The only thing to really not post is knockoffs, at least not in the forum. We have a separate channel for knockoffs, and of course prototypes, mostly because prototypes were not widely available to the public, whereas many of these parts that the part variant forum focuses on were widely available. You bought a Gresh, you had a chance to get that lighter green blade piece there, right? So that's just an example, of course, but also because many of the prototypes have already been cataloged elsewhere, it would be pretty redundant to catalog them again in the parts variant forum. And also, it would just kind of bog down the form itself with a lot of prototypes, a lot of things that people really can't realistically get their hands on. The nice thing about parts variants is that, for the most part, they're not exceptionally more rare than anything else or exceptionally more expensive. So it just gives you the option to say, hey, if I want to build Holly, but I want to focus a lot more on the white color in her character, well, now I know that these white feet pieces are available. Or maybe I want to use those pieces for an ice character, but maybe too much dark blue makes it look a little off. It's little things like that. Third, what is the other purpose of this video? Well, I'm touching back on Invasion from Below for Hero Factory again. I wanted to come back into this one more time. I do have one more video to post after this one about Nex specifically, because I want to make him a machine, and there may be a video further along down the road about my mocks for this whole series as a whole. But for this video specifically, I wanted to focus on what I call a buyer's guide, because we're talking about items to buy and sell on Bricklink. I figured this was the most appropriate video to do for this without making it its own separate video. So, one of the most unique things about Invasion from Below from Hero Factory is that it is the first wave, it is the only wave really, where you can buy a product and get multiple heroes in that one product. Obviously, all the way back in 2014, even more so today if you buy lots and things like that, right? Which means you could have gone out of your way, for example, and bought like Queen Beast and got 3 hero figures in it. Yeah, there are many figures, sure, but it is kind of nice to have, and it's part of the reason why I still argue for minifigure Bionicle, but you know, whatever. With all that said though, the craziest part about this is that I found out just by kind of like calculating, running my little brain mouse in there, that essentially you can just go about buying 4 sets and get all 7 of the heroes that were made available from Invasion from Below. So these are the sets that I would recommend, but of course there are changes that can be made depending on, well, if, let's say, you know, some of these sets have gotten a bit more expensive over time. This right here is what I am calling my little buyer's catalog. I don't know what else to call it. I mean, it's literally just 4 pictures, but these are the 4 sets that I would recommend buying if you were looking into Invasion from Below. And I picked these 4 specifically to sort of round things out, to make sort of a fair fight between the beasts and the heroes here, because you get all 7 of the heroes from just these 4 sets. Obviously, the combat machine comes with Surge and Raka. The Queen Beast comes with Evo, Furno, and Stormer. And then the Flyer Beast and the Drill Machine come with Breeze and Bulk. Now, that doesn't mean that these are necessarily your favorite sets from this wave, so you can obviously sub a lot of this stuff out. Queen Beast was the most expensive at the time at $35, but honestly, I don't think that that was an awful deal for that set, given how large the set is in general, and the fact that you even get another little machine alongside it, or kind of a small medium machine alongside it, which is pretty cool. I also picked these because at least 3 of them have tools on their back that go with the combat machine, meaning that you could swap them out, which is always fun, sure. There's plenty of mocking potential here when it comes to color schemes, things having kind of similar colors or complementary colors, and of course just being, let's say, widely available at the time. Now, realistically, it's 2024, and some of these sets have obviously jumped up in value since time of release. Queen Beast being the most notable here, where if you wanted to buy her set online, honestly, I would encourage you to just go out and buy lots personally than buying the set as a whole, because you might spend 70 to 80 bucks on that set. And because Invasion from Below was the last wave, because it was sort of a controversial wave of Hero Factory, I don't imagine it sold as well as other waves, and also being the last wave, there's just not as much of them available because it had a shorter lifespan. So it is harder to find these sets than like other Hero Factory sets, but not that much harder. And of course, some of these sets have retained their value quite well. So like the combat machine is still readily easy to find at around the $30 mark when it came out for $25 all the way back in 2014. So that is one that I'd really recommend. And yeah, there are a lot of people that complain about the combat machine because it has a pretty open back. But one of the things I like about it, you can fold the legs back, and it's very easy to pretend that this is just a flyer, right? Obviously, the flyer itself leaves a lot to be desired. For one thing, the flyer being Raka's portion of the machine, it's a little weird that it's blue, but I get why they did it. However, the thing that I think annoys me a little bit more is the fact that there's no like engine cover. There's really no suggestion of an engine at all. So I went ahead and mocked up my own version of it, which is very similar. It covers up the little space, the little gap between the legs with his printed plate, which actually faces down here. And then it gives it a little bit of a backing behind the actual like jet propulsion back end, right? I think that looks a lot cleaner, and of course the black still goes really well with the blue of the combat machine base. So I think that that works, and yeah, it's not a whole lot of change there, so maybe I'll post something about that over on the Discord, which you can again check out it is free. But yeah, like I said, once the, flyer is off there, it definitely leaves a lot to be desired, but it's very easy to mock on this set, to add more shells to this set if you have your own collection. So it's, again, one that I would highly recommend, and you get 2 heroes. Like, it's hard to go wrong with a set of that size, especially here in 2024. But again, if, like, say, for example, you didn't like the flyer beast very much, well, you could go out of your way and get Breeze's flea machine, which is also not the best in my personal opinion. 3 legs is a weird choice, but whatever. But that would give you Breeze. Or you could get the poly bag that had Breeze in it instead, and then use the extra money that you would have had otherwise to get one of the other beasts, maybe a Jaw Beast or something else. You could obviously swap out the Queen Beast. You could still get Evo and Inferno from Splitter Beast, etc. So there's plenty to do here, and it gives you a medium-sized machine versus a medium-sized beast, a large machine versus a large beast, and then the little mini machine on the side just as a little freebie, essentially. So I think that's a pretty good, well-rounded summary of everything that I wanted to talk about in this video. I also have a variation on the green brain bug as well, but it's really hard to see. It's not going to show up on camera, so I'd wait till I probably find a better example of that before I post that one to the parts variant form, although I am realizing this one has a weird little flaw in it. Anyway, it's fine. So with all that being said, bit of a long-winded video, I know. If you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It tells YouTube that you want to see more content like this, and it helps the channel out a lot, so it's kind of a win-win. Also, you can join the conversation not only in the comments below, but you can also check out the Discord, Instagram, and Patreon if you want to help support the channel and get some perks. And plus, if you leave a comment, that also helps the channel. YouTube likes all that stuff. All right, I'll see you all in the next one. Take care.